Okay, Algebras, here's our second lesson for Monday and Tuesday. As we wrap up Chapter 8, we're just looking at 8.1 and 8.2 in one day. So we already talked about the axis of symmetry and the vertex of a parabola, but let's talk a little bit more about how to find them when we're only given an equation. First, let's just review. So an axis of symmetry, we already know, is the x value of the vertex, right? So here the vertex is 2, 1. So the minimum or maximum is the y value, and the x value is the axis of symmetry, right? And of course, we want to know the range and domain. We would say domain is all real numbers, and the range is greater than or equal to 1. So what again is the axis of symmetry? Go ahead and do this U-try and check it out. Let's see how you did. So yes, the vertex is that point at the bottom, and which is -2, 4, and the axis of symmetry is -2. Great. Now let's remind ourselves of our quadratic equation, which is y equals ax squared plus bx plus c. Now there's an equation just to find out the axis of symmetry. It's a shortcut. Instead of having to make a table and graph our points and see visually on a graph where the axis of symmetry is, instead we can see that it's x equals -b over 2a. And if you recall, the very first assignment that we did on this was looking at the difference between linear functions and quadratic functions, and we talked about this x equals -b over 2a, and that's that very specific x when it represents the axis of symmetry. So let's take this shortcut. Instead of having to make a table and graph it, let's go ahead and try using -b over 2a. So if I look at our b value is 3 and our a value is 1. So we'll have -3 over 2 times 1, which means that it's -3 over 2. Or x equals -1.5. Let's try it again. So -b over 2a. Our b value is 4 and our a value is -2. Now, we learned in our last lesson that -2 means that it's going downwards, right? So we know that it's going to be a -b, which is 4, times 2 times -2. So then we'll have -4 over -4, which is +1. Go ahead and try this and see how you did. All right, let's see if you got -2 over 2 times 2, which would be -2 over 4, which would be -1/2. So now let's find the vertex using this shortcut. If I know the axis of symmetry is -b over 2a, then once I know that value, I can solve for y. So first I'm going to find my axis of symmetry, -b over 2a. So that's -2 over 2 times -1. So then I'll have -2 over 2, which is -1. Now when I know that, I can substitute that value in to solve for the y value. So -1 squared times -1. Don't forget this is a negative parabola. Minus 2 times -1 again. So -1 squared is 1. Times -1 is still -1. Then we're going to subtract or look at minus a -2. Which means it's also going to be 1. So our vertex is -1, 1 for this one. Let's go ahead and have you try it again. As you can see, we're going to end up making a shortcut on here because often our vertexes have been at 0, 0, but now we'll have vertexes at different points when we go to graph, and this will be our shortcut to find the vertex first. So first, I'm going to do my negative b over 2 times a. So that's negative 10 all over 2 times 5. That's 10 over 10, which is just 1. Now I take that 1 and I plug it back into the equation. 5 times 1 squared is just going to be 5, and negative 10 times 1 is still negative 10. And then plus 3. So we get our y value as negative 2. So our vertex is 1, negative 2. And again, we're just practicing these skills. Next class, we'll look at graphing. And when we graph, we want to find the vertex first and then do 2 points above and 2 points below. But we'll talk about that more next time. Hopefully you did this U-try and checked it and got negative 2, negative 14.